Opening, YouTube hook. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. That afternoon, I learned that terror has a taste. It tastes like copper in your mouth, like the moment before lightning strikes. My name is Eleanor Thompson. I'm 66 years old. And the day my son wrapped his belt around his fist and raised it toward me, I finally understood something my late husband had tried to tell me 12 years ago. Don't give him everything, Elle, William had whispered from his hospital bed, his heart failing. Make him earn it. I didn't listen. And it almost cost me everything. Section 1, The Foundation, 1985 to 2013. Let me take you back because a story like this doesn't start with violence. It starts with love. Too much love given to the wrong person in the wrong way. I met William Thompson in 1982 at Chicago Teachers College. He was studying engineering. I was getting my teaching credential. We were both 22, both dreamers, both convinced we could build something beautiful together. We were right, and we were wrong. William got a job at Boeing. I started teaching 3rd grade at Lincoln Elementary on the South Side. We scraped together every penny for 3 years and bought our house in 1988. A modest 3-bedroom bungalow on Maple Street with oak floors and a backyard just big enough for a swing set. The mortgage payment was $850 a month. It felt like a fortune. Our son Michael was born in 1983. We called him Mike. He had William's dark hair and my green eyes. When I brought him home from the hospital wrapped in a blue blanket my mother had knitted, William drove so carefully you'd think we were transporting diamonds. That's it, Elle, he said, pulling into our driveway. Our family is complete. I believed him with every fiber of my being. Mike was an easy baby. He slept through the night at 6 weeks. He smiled at everyone. Strangers at the grocery store would stop to admire him. What a beautiful boy, they'd say. Thank you, I'd reply, my heart swelling with pride. Every morning before school, the 3 of us ate breakfast together. Pancakes on weekends, toast and eggs on weekdays. William would read the Chicago Tribune while Mike colored in his Superman coloring book. Mom, when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a mansion, Mike said one Saturday morning, syrup on his chin. He was 7 years old. I ruffled his hair. I don't need a mansion, sweetheart. I just need you to be happy. William looked up from his newspaper. He didn't smile. He should learn that houses aren't given, son. They're earned. Mike didn't understand. He was 7. How could he? But I remember the way William looked at me over Mike's head, like he was trying to tell me something important, something I wasn't ready to hear. The cracks begin. When Mike turned 12, William restored an old bicycle for his birthday. He spent weeks on it, changing tires, repainting the frame cherry red, adjusting every spoke until it was perfect. This is yours, Mike, William said, presenting it. Take care of it. The things we take care of last a lifetime. Mike's eyes lit up. Thanks, Dad. I promise I'll take care of it forever. That bicycle lasted 5 months. Mike left it outside one rainy night. The chain rusted, the paint bubbled, the seat cracked. William didn't yell. He just looked at that ruined bicycle with something in his eyes that made my chest hurt. Disappointment. It's okay, I told William that night in our bedroom. He's just a kid. Kids forget things. Elle, William said quietly. He didn't forget. He didn't care enough to remember. I bought Mike a new bicycle the following week. I didn't tell William. That was my first mistake. The loss that changed everything. William died when Mike was 30. It was fast. Too fast. A pain in his chest during Monday Night Football. Probably just heartburn, he said. By Thursday, he was in the ICU. By Tuesday, he was gone. Heart disease. The silent killer. He was only 62. I was teaching when the hospital called. A substitute had to take my class. By the time I got there, William had already slipped into unconsciousness. I held his hand. It was already cool. The machines beeped their steady rhythm, but I knew. Somehow I knew. Mike arrived an hour later. He'd been at work. He lived across town by then in a small apartment near his job at a logistics company. Is he... Mike couldn't finish the sentence. Not yet, I whispered. We sat on either side of William's bed. The television played silently in the corner. CNN. Always CNN in hospital rooms. At 3:47 a.m., William opened his eyes. They were unfocused, seeing something I couldn't see. Elle, he whispered. I leaned close. I'm here, my love. I'm right here. Take care of Mike. His voice was barely audible. But don't spoil him too much. That boy needs to learn. Life hurts. I will. I promise. Make him earn it. Everything. Make him—" His eyes closed. The machines screamed their flatline song. A nurse rushed in, then another, then a doctor. "I'm sorry," the doctor said 20 minutes later. "He's gone." Mike and I stood in the hallway. He was crying. I was numb. "He loved you so much," I told my son, pulling him into a hug. "I know, Mom. I know." But even as I held him, I felt it. That terrible creeping guilt. I hadn't been the wife William needed. I hadn't supported him the way I should have. I would make it up to him by keeping my promise, by taking care of our son. That promise became my second mistake. Section 2, The Widow's Choice. After William died, I threw myself into mothering Mike. He was grieving. So was I. But somehow taking care of him made the pain more bearable. I paid off his credit cards. $7,000 he'd racked up that I didn't know about. "Thanks, Mom," he said when I handed him the check. "I'll pay you back." He never did. I helped with his rent when he was between jobs. Once, twice, 5 times. Soon I wasn't helping anymore. I was just paying it. $1,600 a month for an apartment I'd never even seen inside. "Mike, honey, you need to find something more affordable," I suggested gently during one of his rare visits. "I will, Mom. I'm working on it. It's just, the market's tough right now, you know." I knew. I'd been teaching for 37 years. I understood tough markets. But I also understood that Mike was 32 years old and still hadn't figured out how to budget. My teacher's salary was $54,000 a year. After taxes, mortgage, utilities, and helping Mike, I had maybe $300 a month for myself. I started rationing my blood pressure medication, taking it every other day instead of daily. The prescription was $60 a month. I needed that $60 for groceries. My friend Patricia Pat noticed at our monthly coffee date at Marge's Diner. "Elle, you look pale. Are you taking your medication?" Of course. I lied, stirring sugar into my coffee. Pat's eyes narrowed. She'd been my neighbor for 28 years. She knew when I was lying. "How much are you giving him?" "Who?" "Don't play dumb." "Mike." "How much?" I stared at my coffee. "He's my son, Pat." "That's not an answer." "He's having a hard time. He's 32 years old, Elle. When are you going to let him grow up?" "Never, I thought. Because if I stop taking care of him, what am I?" "Just a lonely widow in an empty house." But I didn't say that. I just smiled and changed the subject. Section 3, Jessica Parker enters the picture. Mike met Jessica at a marketing conference in 2019. He was there for his company. She was there as a pharmaceutical rep. "Mom, I met someone," he told me over the phone. Excitement in his voice I hadn't heard in years. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. What's she like?" "She's amazing, beautiful, smart. She works in medical sales. Makes good money, too." That last part should have been a red flag. Mike had never cared about a girlfriend's salary before. I met Jessica 3 weeks later. Mike brought her to Sunday dinner at my house. She was tall, maybe 5'9". Blonde hair that was definitely from a salon, not a bottle. Designer jeans that probably cost more than my monthly electric bill. Red nails, long and perfectly manicured. "Mrs. Thompson," she said, extending one of those perfect hands. "It's so nice to finally meet you." Her handshake was limp. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Call me Elle, please. Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready." I'd spent all day cooking. Pot roast, William's favorite. Mashed potatoes, green beans, apple pie from scratch. Jessica took tiny bites of everything. She pushed the potatoes around her plate. "Is something wrong with the food, dear?" I asked. "Oh no, Mrs. Thompson, it's delicious. I'm just watching my carbs." She said it with a little laugh, like it was a joke we should all be in on. Mike laughed too. "Jess is really into fitness, Mom. She does Pilates 3 times a week." "That's wonderful," I said, though I felt something cold settle in my stomach. After dinner, while Mike was in the bathroom, Jessica and I were alone in the living room. She picked up a framed photo from the mantel. It was from Mike's high school graduation. "Wow, Mike was chubby," she said. Not he looked happy. Not what a special day. Just chubby. "He was perfect," I said, my voice coming out sharper than I intended. Jessica set the photo down. She looked at me, then really looked at me, and I saw it. Calculation. Assessment. Like she was measuring my value. Mike says you're a teacher. I am. 3rd grade. 37 years now. That's sweet. Sweet. Like teaching was a hobby, not a career. Mike also mentioned you have this lovely house, all paid off. The question was so direct it took me by surprise. Not quite. Another 3 years on the mortgage. Oh, she sounded disappointed. Well, I'm sure it'll be worth a lot when you do own it outright. This neighborhood's getting really popular. Something in her tone made the hair on my neck stand up. When they left, Mike kissed my cheek. Thanks for dinner, Mom. Jess loved it. She barely ate, I pointed out. She's just watching her figure. Don't take it personally. But it felt personal. It felt like everything about that evening was personal. After they left, I sat in William's old armchair and cried. Pat came over. She'd seen Mike's car leave from her window across the street. Well, she asked, handing me a tissue. What did you think? I took a shaky breath. I think she looked at my house the way a realtor looks at a property listing. Pat nodded slowly. Trust your gut, Elle. Trust your gut. Section 4, The Wedding, June 2020. Mike proposed to Jessica on New Year's Eve 2019. They set a date for June 2020, 6 months. That's all the time I had to save for a wedding I already knew was a mistake. Mom, Jess and I were thinking, Mike said during one of his increasingly rare visits. Would you be able to help with the wedding? Of course, sweetheart. What do you need? He handed me a folder. Inside was a budget breakdown that made my stomach drop. Venue $12,000, catering $15,000, photography $5,000, flowers $6,000, dress $4,000, the total at the bottom $52,000. Mike, I said, my voice faint. This is a lot, I know, but Jess's parents can only contribute $10,000. They have her younger siblings to think about, and I've got some savings, maybe $15,000. So we were hoping you could cover the rest, $27,000. I made $54,000 a year, before taxes. Mike, that's my entire savings. I know it's a big ask, Mom, but this is my wedding. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and you know how important family is to me. Family. He said it like it was the most important thing in the world, but he hadn't visited in 6 weeks. Let me think about it, I said. Sure, Mom, but we need to know soon. The venue needs a deposit by Friday. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my bank statements spread out in front of me. Checking account $2,341, savings account $34,567. It was everything I'd saved for retirement, for emergencies, for a new roof when this one finally gave out. But it was Mike's wedding, my only child. I called him the next day. I'll do it, I said. I'll help with the wedding. Really, Mom, that's amazing. Thank you so much. But Mike, this is everything I have, so please be careful with it. No unnecessary expenses, okay? Of course, Mom. We'll be super careful. I promise. Another promise. Another lie. The wedding day, June 20th, 2020. The day was perfect. Sunny, 78 degrees. The kind of Chicago summer day that makes you forget about the brutal winters. The venue was the Metropolis Club downtown. Exposed brick floor-to-ceiling windows, chandeliers that cost more than my car. I wore a navy blue dress I'd bought on sale at Macy's. $60. I'd had my hair done at the local salon. $45 including tip. Jessica wore a gown that belonged in a magazine. White silk beaded bodice, a train that required 2 bridesmaids just to carry it into the church. $4,000, Mike had said. I suspected it was more. The ceremony was beautiful. I won't lie about that. Mike looked handsome in his tuxedo. Jessica looked like a princess. When the minister asked if anyone objected, I felt Pat's hand squeeze mine from the seat next to me. Not yet, she whispered. You can't save him from himself. The reception was at the same venue. 200 guests. I knew maybe 30 of them. Tables were assigned. I found my name card at table 17 in the back corner. Pat was with me. So were a few of my teacher friends from school. Table 1 at the front was for the bride and groom. Table 2 was for Jessica's family. I wasn't at either. Elle, you should be at the head table, my friend Marjorie said, her voice indignant. It's fine, I said, though it wasn't. It's their day. Halfway through dinner, Jessica stood to give a speech. She was glowing, champagne glass in hand. I just want to thank everyone for being here to celebrate this special day with us, she began. Especially my family, who have always been there for me. And Mike's mom, Eleanor, who was kind enough to help with some of the wedding expenses. Some of the expenses. I'd paid for $35,000 of this wedding. The venue, the flowers, the photographer, the cake, the invitations. Some of the expenses. Everyone clapped politely. A few people turned to look at me. I smiled and waved. Under the table, my hands were shaking. Pat leaned close. That girl just slapped you in the face in front of 200 people. She thanked me, I said weakly. She minimized you. There's a difference. The cake cutting came next, then the first dance, then the father-daughter dance. Jessica's father cried. It was sweet. There was no mother-son dance. We decided to skip it, Mike told me when I asked, his voice apologetic. Jess thought it might make her dad feel bad since her mom passed away. Jessica's mother was alive and well. She was sitting at table 2 eating cake. I didn't argue. What was the point? At 10 p.m., as the party was winding down, I started helping the catering staff clear tables. Ma'am, you don't need to do that, a young server said. It's no trouble, I replied, stacking plates. I needed to do something with my hands, something to keep from crying. Mike and Jessica left at 11 p.m. for their honeymoon. Miami, 5-star resort, 8 days. Jess's parents gave it to us as a wedding gift, Mike said, hugging me goodbye. Not mine, hers. I drove home alone. Pat had left earlier with her son. The house was dark and empty when I pulled into the driveway. I sat in my car for 20 minutes watching the porch light I'd left on before leaving that morning. And I cried. Harder than I'd cried since William's funeral. Because I finally understood something. I had just paid $35,000 for a wedding where I was an afterthought. Section 5, the pattern emerges. The requests started slowly at first. Mom, our honeymoon was amazing, but we went a little over budget on activities. Could you help us out? Just $2,000 to cover the credit card bill. Mom, our apartment lease is up and we found a great place, but we need first and last month's rent. Could you loan us $3,000? We'll pay you back as soon as we get our tax refund. Mom, Jess's car broke down and the repairs are expensive. $5,000, I know it's a lot, but we really need reliable transportation. Each time I said yes. Each time Mike promised to pay me back. Each time the money disappeared like water into sand. By November 2020, I'd given them another $12,000. My savings account was down to $9,000. I started picking up extra work, tutoring after school, teaching summer programs, anything to rebuild what I'd given away. Pat watched it all with increasing alarm. Elle, you're killing yourself for him. He's struggling, Pat. The economy is hard right now. The economy is hard for everyone, but not everyone has their mother paying their bills. I had no answer to that. The announcement. In March 2022, Mike called me. Mom, Jess and I have some news. I heard the smile in his voice. What is it? We're pregnant. You're going to be a grandmother. The world stopped spinning. A grandmother. I was going to be a grandmother. Oh, Mike, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. That's wonderful. That's the most wonderful news. We're so excited. The baby's due in September. We just found out today. Can I come over? I want to hug you both. There was a pause. Then Jessica's voice in the background muffled. Mike's response also muffled. Actually, Mom, we're pretty tired. Maybe tomorrow, Of course, tomorrow is fine. But tomorrow came and Mike had to work late. The next day, Jessica wasn't feeling well. The day after that, they had an appointment. A week passed before I finally drove to their apartment unannounced. I knocked on the door of their new place, the one I'd helped them move into with my $3,000. Jessica answered. She was wearing yoga pants and a Northwestern sweatshirt. Her belly was still flat. Oh, Eleanor, hi. Not Mom, not even Mrs. Thompson, just Eleanor. I came to congratulate you in person, I said, holding up a bag. I brought some things, prenatal vitamins, some books about pregnancy, and I knitted this. I pulled out a tiny yellow blanket. I'd been working on it every night for a week. Jessica took it with barely a glance. That's sweet. Thanks. Can I come in? I'd love to talk about the baby. Do you know if it's a boy or girl yet? Too early. She didn't move from the doorway. Listen, Eleanor, I'm really tired. Morning sickness, you know. Maybe we can do lunch sometime. Of course, I'm so excited. I can help with anything you need. Doctor's appointments, shopping for the nursery. I can babysit after the baby comes. Whatever you need. Something flickered across Jessica's face. It might have been calculation. Actually, she said slowly, we might take you up on that. Baby Sophie arrives. I found out Sophie was born via Facebook, September 12, 2022, at 3:47 a.m. A photo of a tiny pink bundle. The caption, Sophie Grace Thompson, 7 Ubs, 2 O's, the love of our lives. 500 likes, 300 comments. Congratulations from friends and strangers. I called Mike immediately. Sweetheart, congratulations. Why didn't you call me? Sorry, Mom. It all happened so fast. We barely had time to call anyone. Can I come to the hospital? Which hospital? Northwestern, but actually we're not really doing visitors. Jess wants privacy for bonding. I'm not a visitor, Mike. I'm your mother, Sophie's grandmother. I know, Mom, I know, but just give us a few days, okay? We'll let you know when we're ready. 3 weeks. That's how long it took before I was allowed to meet my granddaughter. And even then, it was only for 15 minutes. Sophie was beautiful. She had Mike's dark hair and Jessica's nose. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and I felt my heart crack wide open. Hello, my sweet girl, I whispered. I'm your Grandma Elle, and I love you so much already. Jessica watched from the couch. She didn't smile. Don't wake her, she said when Sophie started to stir. She just fell asleep. I'm just holding her, I said softly. She needs her schedule. If you wake her now, she'll be fussy all evening. I handed Sophie back. I'd held my granddaughter for exactly 8 minutes. Section 6, The Unpaid Nanny. By October 2022, I was at Mike and Jessica's apartment every single day. Mom, I hate to ask, but Jess is overwhelmed and I have to work. Could you watch Sophie just for today? Just for today became every day. I arrived at 7 a.m. I changed diapers. I warmed bottles. I rocked Sophie when she cried. I did their laundry. I washed their dishes. I vacuumed their floors. Jessica stayed in bed until noon watching Netflix on her laptop. Thanks for coming, Eleanor, she'd say when she finally emerged. I just need some me time, you know. Being a mom is exhausting. I bit my tongue. At 8 p.m., when Mike came home smelling of beer and cigarettes, I'd pack up my things. Thanks, Mom. You're a lifesaver. Some days I was so tired driving home that I'd pull over in a parking lot just to rest my eyes for 10 minutes. I was 66 years old. I'd just retired from teaching after 40 years. I should have been traveling, reading, gardening, living. Instead, I was raising my granddaughter while her parents lived their lives. But I got to see Sophie. Every day, I got to watch her grow. That's what I told myself. That's how I justified it. Section 7, The Power of Attorney, Twist Setup. In August 2022, Mike and Jessica came to my house. Together, at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. They'd never done that before. Mom, we need to talk to you about something important, Mike said. They sat on my couch. I sat in William's old armchair. What is it? Jessica spoke first. Her voice was honey-sweet. Eleanor, we've been thinking. This house is so big, and you're here all alone. It must be a lot of work to maintain. I manage fine, I said carefully. Of course you do, Mike jumped in. But we're worried about you, the stairs, the yard. What if something happened and we weren't here to help? What are you suggesting? They exchanged a look. We think, Jessica said, that you should move to a smaller place, something easier to manage. There are some really nice senior communities near us, 1-bedroom apartments, everything on one floor, activities and social stuff. Senior communities. She meant retirement homes. This is my home, I said, my voice steady despite the panic rising in my chest. I bought it with your father, Mike. I've lived here for 34 years. I'm not leaving. We're not asking you to leave, Mike said quickly. We're just suggesting that maybe you could let us handle the house for a while. You know, manage it for you. That way you don't have to worry about maintenance and bills and all that. I don't understand. Jessica pulled papers from her purse. It's called a power of attorney. It just gives Mike the ability to help you with financial decisions, pay your bills, handle repairs, make things easier for you. She set the papers on my coffee table, in my living room, in my house. I don't need help with my finances, I said. Mom? Mike leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. We're thinking about Sophie. She needs more space. Our apartment is tiny. There's barely room for her crib. If we had this house, we could give her a real childhood, a yard to play in, a good school district. If you had this house, I repeated slowly. We'd take care of it, Jessica said quickly. We'd maintain everything, and you'd still have your room, obviously. You could visit whenever you want. It's your house. We'd just be managing it for you. Managing it. Right, she smiled, that smile that never reached her eyes. And think about Sophie Eleanor. Don't you want what's best for your granddaughter? There it was, the trump card. Sophie. Let me think about it, I said. Mike's face fell. Mom, we need to know soon. The lease on our apartment is up in 2 months. I said I need to think about it. They left disappointed. I could see it in the set of Mike's shoulders. After they were gone, I called Pat. Don't do it, she said immediately. Elle, whatever they ask, don't do it. I told her about the power of attorney. Absolutely not. If you sign that, you lose everything. Your house, your independence, your decision-making power. All of it. But Sophie is not your responsibility. She has 2 parents. They need to figure it out. Mike is my son. Mike is a grown man who's using you, and that woman he married is a vulture. I knew Pat was right, but I also knew I couldn't say no, because if I said no, I'd lose Sophie. And I'd already lost so much. The signing, September 2022. The notary's office was in a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a pizza place. Mike drove. I sat in the back seat. Jessica was in the passenger seat, scrolling on her phone. Thanks for doing this, Mom, Mike said, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. It's really going to help us out. The notary was a tired-looking woman named Mrs. Chen. She had reading glasses on a chain around her neck. Mrs. Thompson, she said, I'm going to read through this document. It's important that you understand exactly what you're signing. She read it aloud. Legal jargon about powers and authorities and rights. This gives your son, Michael Thompson, the authority to make financial decisions on your behalf, including the ability to manage, sell, or mortgage any property in your name. Do you understand sell? I looked at Mike. You said manage. We're not going to sell it, Mom, he said quickly. That's just standard language. Right, Mrs. Chen? The notary adjusted her glasses. It's standard for a broad power of attorney, yes. But Mrs. Thompson, you should know that once you sign this, your son will have the legal authority to do any of those things without your permission. We're not going to do anything without talking to you first, Mom, Mike said. I promise. There was that word again. Promise. Jessica put her hand on my shoulder. Eleanor, we just want to help you. That's all this is. I looked at the paper, then at Mike, my son, my only child. I thought about William, about his warning, but I also thought about Sophie, about my granddaughter, about the possibility of never seeing her again if I said no. Do you have a pen? I asked. Mrs. Chen handed me one. I signed, 3 times. My full name, Eleanor Margaret Thompson, widow of William Robert Thompson. Mike hugged me tight. Thank you, Mom. You won't regret this. Jessica smiled. Mrs. Chen handed us copies. These are for your records. In the car on the way home, I stared at my copy of the document. The paper felt heavy in my hands, like I'd just signed away something I could never get back. Section 8, The First Twist, The Mortgage Discovery. Life continued. I kept showing up at Mike and Jessica's apartment every morning, kept caring for Sophie, kept pretending everything was normal. November 2022, December, January 2023. Mike and Jessica talked about moving into my house soon, but they didn't move. I didn't push. Part of me was relieved. Then one morning in March 2023, I was cleaning Sophie's room while she napped. I was changing the crib sheet when something crinkled under the mattress. Papers. I pulled them out. Bank documents, statements, and there in black and white mortgage agreement. Property 4247 Maple Street, Chicago, IL. Borrower Michael Thompson. Principal amount $400,000. My house, my home, the house I'd paid on for 34 years. The house that had only 3 years left on the mortgage. Mike had taken out a $400,000 mortgage against it. Dated November 15th, 2022, 6 weeks after I'd signed the power of attorney. My hands shook so badly the papers rattled. The next page showed the payment schedule. Monthly payment $2,700. The next page showed late payment notices. 3 of them. Mike hadn't made a single payment on time. I heard Sophie crying in the living room. Then Jessica's voice annoyed, "Can't you just sleep for once?" I walked out of the bedroom in a daze. Jessica was on the couch, phone in hand. Sophie was crying in her bouncer. "You mortgaged my house," I said. Jessica's head snapped up. "What to? Mike mortgaged my house for $400,000. Did you know about this?" She stood up slowly. "Eleanor, I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me." My voice was shaking. "I found the papers. In Sophie's room. Under her crib mattress." Jessica's face went pale, then red. "You were snooping?" "I was changing her sheets, Jessica. He mortgaged my house without telling me." "It's not your house anymore," Jessica said. Her voice was cold now. No more honey sweetness. "You signed the papers. That house is Mike's now, legally. He can do whatever he wants with it." "I signed so you could manage it, not steal it." "Steal it," Jessica laughed. "Oh, Eleanor, we're not stealing anything. We're using our asset to secure our financial future. That's called being smart." $400,000. Where is it? What did you spend it on?" Jessica's eyes narrowed. "That's none of your business." "It's my house." "Not anymore." She picked up her phone. "I think you should leave now, Eleanor, before you say something you'll regret. I want to talk to Mike. Mike is at work, and when he gets home, I'm going to tell him how you barged in here and accused us of stealing, after everything we've done for you." "Everything you've done for me!" Sophie was screaming now. Jessica picked her up roughly. "Yes, we let you spend time with Sophie. We let you be part of this family. But if you're going to be like this, well, maybe that needs to change." The threat was clear. "Behave or lose your granddaughter." I left. I got in my car and I drove home and I sat in my driveway and I screamed. Section 9 Confrontation 1. I waited for Mike that evening. I parked down the street from his apartment and I waited. He came home at 7:30 p.m., later than usual. He smelled like beer when he got out of his car. I walked up behind him as he was unlocking his door. "Mike!" He jumped. "Mom! Jesus, you scared me. We need to talk." "Not now, Mom. I'm tired. Can we do this tomorrow?" "Now." Something in my voice made him stop. He turned to face me. "What's going on?" "You mortgaged my house." He went very still. How did I find out I found the papers?" "In Sophie's room. 3 months of late payment notices, Mike. 3 months." "Mom, I can explain." "Explain what? That you took out a $400,000 loan against my house without telling me, that you haven't made a single payment on time, that my credit is probably destroyed." "I was going to tell you. When the bank forecloses." A door opened behind us. Jessica stood in the doorway, Sophie on her hip. "What's going on?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. "Your husband mortgaged my house," I said. "Our house," Jessica corrected. "Mike has power of attorney. Remember, that makes it his house." I looked at my son, really looked at him. "Mike, is that true? You think of my house as yours now?" He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, we needed the money." "For what?" For stuff. Bills. Sophie's expenses." $400,000 worth of stuff. Silence. "Mike, look at me." He finally did. His eyes were red. Maybe from tears. Maybe from beer. "Where did the money go?" "We invested it," Jessica said. "In our future. In Sophie's future." I looked past her into the apartment. New furniture, a massive flat-screen TV, designer baby gear everywhere. "You spent my house on furniture." "We spent our money on building a life," Jessica snapped. "And frankly, Eleanor, it's none of your business. If you have a problem with Mike's financial decisions, maybe you shouldn't have given him power of attorney." "I gave it to him to help, not to rob me." "Lower your voice," Jessica said. "You're upsetting Sophie." Sophie wasn't upset. She was staring at me with her big eyes reaching her little hands toward me. "Grandma," she said. It was the first time she'd called me that. My heart broke and mended and broke again. "I want my house back," I said quietly. "Too late," Jessica said. "The papers are signed, the money is spent, and if you try to cause trouble, we'll just have to reconsider your visitation privileges with Sophie." She stepped back inside and closed the door. Mike stood on the doorstep looking at me with something like shame. "Mom, I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't pay a $400,000 mortgage, Mike." "I'll figure it out." "How?" No answer. I walked back to my car. My legs felt like they were made of lead. As I drove away, I saw Mike through the apartment window. Jessica was yelling at him. He stood there, head down, taking it. Opening reminder. In part 1, I discovered that my son Mike had mortgaged my house for $400,000 without my knowledge. My daughter-in-law Jessica made it clear if I caused trouble, I'd never see my granddaughter Sophie again. But what Jessica didn't know was that I wasn't alone, and I was about to fight back in a way she never expected. If you're just joining us, go back and watch part 1 first, and comment below what city you're watching from. Section 1, The Breaking Point. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in William's old side of the bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. Every creak of the floorboards reminded me that this house, my house, now had a $400,000 debt attached to it. A debt I never agreed to. A debt that would take away everything I'd worked 40 years to build. At 3 a.m. I got up. I made chamomile tea that I didn't drink. I sat at the kitchen table where William and I had shared thousands of meals. The moonlight came through the window and fell across the spot where Mike used to sit as a boy eating his Cheerios before school, telling me about his dreams. "I'm going to be rich, Mom," he'd said once, maybe 8 years old. "So rich you'll never have to work again." Where had that boy gone? When had he turned into a man who would steal from his own mother? My phone buzzed. A text message. 3:17 a.m. Pat, I saw your light on. Are you okay? I called her. Elle, what happened? Pat's voice was alert despite the hour. I told her everything. The mortgage papers, the confrontation, Jessica's threats. "That's it," Pat said when I finished. "We're calling a lawyer, first thing tomorrow morning." "Pat, I can't afford." "James Bradford owes me a favor. His daughter married my nephew. He'll see you. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. I'm not asking Elle. I'm telling you." For the first time in hours, I felt something that wasn't despair. Hope. Section 2, Pat's Secret Mission. Pat picked me up at 8:30 a.m. She was wearing what she called her business outfit, a gray pantsuit from 1995 that still fit perfectly. "You look official," I said, getting into her Buick. "That's the point. Today we stop being victims. Today we become warriors." James Bradford's office was in a renovated brownstone in Lincoln Park. Tasteful, professional, the kind of place that charges $300 an hour. My stomach knotted. "Pat, I really can't." "It's handled," she said firmly. "James, this is Eleanor Thompson." James Bradford was maybe 58, silver hair, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He shook my hand warmly. "Mrs. Thompson, Pat's told me a bit about your situation. Please sit down. Coffee." "No, thank you." We sat in leather chairs that probably cost more than my monthly pension. "Tell me everything," James said, pulling out a yellow legal pad. "Start from the beginning." I did. The power of attorney, the mortgage, the threats about Sophie. James took notes. His expression never changed, but I saw his jaw tighten when I got to the part about Jessica threatening to take Sophie away. "Mrs. Thompson," he said when I finished, "what your son has done is called financial elder abuse. In Illinois, it's a felony. You have grounds not just to revoke the power of attorney, but to press criminal charges." "I don't want Mike to go to jail," I said quickly. "He's my son." "I understand, but you need to understand something too." James leaned forward. "If you don't act now, you will lose your house. The bank will foreclose. Your credit will be destroyed, and you'll have no legal recourse because you signed that power of attorney." The room felt too small suddenly. "What do I do?" "First, we revoke the power of attorney. Immediately. That stops Mike from being able to make any more financial decisions in your name. And the mortgage? That's trickier. It was legally obtained while the POA was in effect. But we can argue it was done without your knowledge or consent. We can fight it. It won't be easy, but we can fight it." "How long will it take?" "Months, maybe a year. Courts move slowly." "I don't have a year, Mr. Bradford. The bank will take my house." "Not if we file an injunction. We can freeze the foreclosure proceedings while we fight the case." He paused. "But Mrs. Thompson, there's something else we need to discuss." "What evidence? If this goes to court, we need to prove that Mike and Jessica acted in bad faith, that they manipulated you into signing that POA. Do you have any proof of that?" I thought about it. "No, it was just conversations. Their word against mine." Pat cleared her throat. "Actually, James, about that evidence. We both looked at her. She reached into her enormous purse and pulled out a small black device, about the size of a USB drive. "What is that?" I asked. "A voice recorder," Pat said calmly. "Remember that Coach purse I gave Jessica for her birthday in February?" I did. Pat had said she found it at a consignment shop. I'd thought it was generous. "I sewed this into the lining," Pat continued. "It's voice-activated, records up to 200 hours. I've been downloading the files once a week when you're at their apartment and Jessica goes to Pilates." I stared at my friend. "Pat, you've been recording them." "I've been protecting you. There's a difference." She handed the device to James. "I think you're going to find some very interesting conversations on there." James plugged the recorder into his laptop. He put on headphones. We sat in silence while he listened. His expression changed. Shock, disgust, anger. After 20 minutes, he took off the headphones. "Mrs. Thompson," he said quietly, "your daughter-in-law is planning to sell your house. Soon. Within the next 3 months. She and your son have been discussing it for weeks." The floor seemed to tilt. She's been in contact with a real estate agent, a man named Marcus Cole. He hesitated. "They've been having conversations that are inappropriate for a married woman." "You mean she's having an affair?" "I mean there are text messages between them discussing not just the house sale, but also plans for after the divorce." "Divorce?" Pat took my hand. Honey, breathe." But I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. "Mike doesn't know," I managed to ask. "Based on these recordings, your son is being played just like you were." James clicked through more files. "There's more. Jessica has been researching senior living facilities. She's got brochures. She's been planning to move you into one as soon as the house sells." "She can't do that. I'm not incompetent." "Not legally, no, but she's been telling people you are. Friends, family. There are recordings of her telling her mother that you're getting forgetful and can't manage on your own anymore." I felt sick. "Mr. Bradford," I said slowly, "I need to stop this, all of it. What do I need to do?" He looked at me with something like admiration. "Are you sure once we start this, there's no going back?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "Then here's what we're going to do." Section 3, twist number 2, Rachel's revelation. That evening, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Thompson, this is Rachel Parker, Jessica's cousin. We met at your son's wedding." I vaguely remembered her. Tall girl with glasses. She'd been nice. One of the few people who'd talked to me that night. "Yes, I remember. How can I help you, Rachel?" "Actually, I'm calling to help you. Can we meet in person? It's important." "What's this about Jessica and things you need to know? Please, Mrs. Thompson. Tomorrow there's a Starbucks on Clark Street. Do you know it?" Against my better judgment, I agreed. Pat insisted on coming with me. "I'm not letting you walk into a trap, Elle." "It might not be a trap." "Or it might be." "I'm coming." We arrived 15 minutes early. Rachel was already there, sitting in a corner booth, nervously shredding a napkin. She was younger than I remembered, maybe 29, 30. She wore scrubs with cartoon characters on them. "You're a nurse?" I asked, sliding into the booth. "Pediatric. I work at Children's Memorial." She glanced at Pat. "Is she?" "She's my friend. Anything you tell me she hears." Rachel nodded. She pulled out her phone. "Mrs. Thompson, I need to show you something. But first you need to understand that Jessica and I aren't close. We're cousins, but we didn't grow up together. I only met her at family reunions." "Okay?" "At Mike's wedding, I saw how Jessica treated you. How she talked about you when you weren't around. I didn't like it, but I figured it wasn't my business." Rachel took a breath. "Then 3 weeks ago, I was at my aunt's house. That's Jessica's mom, and I overheard Jessica on the phone with a man who wasn't Mike." She turned her phone around. Text messages between Jessica and someone named Marcus. I read them. Each one made me feel sicker. Jessica: "Once the old bat signs everything over, we're golden." Marcus: "How long, Jessica? She already signed the POA. Mike got the mortgage. We just need to wait for the foreclosure, buy it cheap at auction, flip it, and we're out." Marcus and Mike: "Jessica, Mike's useful until he's not. Divorce papers are already drafted. My lawyer says I'll get custody and child support. Marcus: "Sophie's not even his kid." Jessica: "He doesn't know that. And he won't until it's too late." I stopped reading. "Sophie," I whispered. "Sophie isn't Mike's daughter." Rachel shook her head. I think she's Marcus's, but I can't prove it. I heard Jessica telling my aunt that she trapped the right guy when she got pregnant. Pat was reading over my shoulder. Who is Marcus Cole? Real estate developer. He's been in trouble before. Securities fraud in 2019. Got off on a technicality. Rachel pulled up a photo. This is him. The man in the picture was maybe 35, handsome in a slick way, expensive suit, the kind of guy who'd charm you out of your life savings. How did you get these texts? I asked. Rachel looked uncomfortable. Jessica left her phone at my aunt's house. I looked. I know it's wrong, but something about the way she talked about you about Mike. I had a feeling. Rachel, I said carefully, why are you showing me this? Her eyes filled with tears. Because Jessica did this to someone else. My best friend from high school. Got her to invest in one of Marcus's opportunities. My friend lost everything. Her house, her savings, everything. And I didn't warn her because I didn't want to believe my own cousin could be that evil. She wiped her eyes. I won't make that mistake twice. You seem like a nice person, Mrs. Thompson. And Mike seems like a good guy who got in over his head. You both deserve to know what you're dealing with. I looked at Pat. She nodded. Rachel, I said, how would you feel about testifying to all this, if it came to that? If it helps stop her, I'd testify tomorrow. Section 4, twist number 3. William's last secret. That night I couldn't stop thinking about Sophie. Sophie who'd called me grandma for the first time just days ago. Sophie who might not be my granddaughter at all. I was sitting in the living room staring at photos of Mike as a baby when I noticed something. The mail. I'd been so distracted lately I'd barely looked at it. Bills, junk, catalogs, and one envelope. Heavy paper, law firm return address, Breslin & Associates, attorneys at law. That was the firm that had handled William's estate when he died. I opened it. Inside was a letter dated 2 weeks ago and a small USB drive. Dear Mrs. Thompson, per the instructions in Mr. William Thompson's will, we are required to deliver this package to you 12 years after his death, should you still be living at the same address. The USB drive contains a video message from your late husband. He requested that you view it alone in privacy. We apologize for the delay in delivery. A clerical error resulted in this being misfiled. It has only recently come to our attention. Sincerely, Gerald Breslin S. Esquire, a video message. From William, recorded before he died. My hands shook as I went to Mike's old bedroom. He'd left his laptop here when he moved out. I never got rid of it. I plugged in the USB drive. One file, video, dated March 2013, 2 months before William died. I clicked play. William's face filled the screen. He was in a hospital bed. Thin, pale, but his eyes were alert. Elle, he said, and hearing his voice after 12 years made me start crying immediately. If you're watching this, I'm gone, and I need to tell you something I should have told you when I was alive. He took a shaky breath. Mike isn't my biological son. The world stopped. I've known since he was a baby. The timing never worked. We'd separated for 3 months in 1982, remember? You had that affair with your colleague. You told me about it when we got back together. I forgave you. I wanted to forgive you. I remembered. God, I remembered. That terrible summer when we'd almost divorced. The brief, stupid affair with another teacher at my school. William had said it didn't matter, that we'd start fresh. I got a paternity test when Mike was 6 months old, William continued. I'm not his father. But Elle, I loved him anyway. I chose to love him. I chose to be his father. He coughed. The sound was wet and painful. But I made a mistake. I overcompensated. I gave him everything because I was afraid if I didn't, you'd see that I resented him. And I did resent him sometimes, Elle. Not Mike himself, but what he represented. My inadequacy. The fact that I wasn't man enough to give you a child. Tears streamed down my face. So I spoiled him. I gave him everything he wanted. And you saw me doing it and you did the same. And now we've created a man who expects everything to be handed to him. Who doesn't know how to work for what he has. William leaned closer to the camera. Elle, by the time you see this, Mike will be in his 40s. And I'm willing to bet he's still taking from you. Still expecting you to fix his problems. Still acting like the world owes him something. He was right. God, he was so right. "This is my fault," William said. "Mine and yours. We failed him by loving him too much in the wrong way. But Elle, it's not too late. If he's taking from you, stop giving. If he's using you, set boundaries. You don't owe him your life just because he's your son." He coughed again, harder. "I love you, Elle. I always have. Even when things were hard. Even when I knew Mike wasn't mine. You were always mine. And this house, this life we built, it's yours now. Don't let anyone take it from you. Not even our son." The video ended. I sat in the darkness, William's words echoing in my head. Mike wasn't William's biological son, which meant, who was Mike's father? I pulled up the records from my old school. Staff lists from 1982. There, Daniel Morrison, English teacher. We'd had the affair. He'd moved to California the following year. I found him on Facebook. He'd died in 2019. Heart attack. He'd never married. No children listed. So Mike would never know his biological father. But did Mike even need to know? I thought about William's message. About overcompensating. About spoiling. About failing Mike by giving him too much. Maybe the greatest gift I could give my son now wasn't more money. It was consequences. Section 5, revoking the power of attorney. James Bradford moved fast. Within a week, he'd prepared all the paperwork to revoke the power of attorney. He'd also contacted Detective Sarah Chen, a specialist in financial crimes against the elderly. "Mrs. Thompson," Detective Chen said when we met at James's office, "I've reviewed the recordings Mrs. Miller provided. Combined with the text messages from Rachel Parker, we have enough to build a case against both your son and daughter-in-law." "What kind of case?" "Financial exploitation of an elderly person. Fraud. Conspiracy. These are serious charges." "I don't want Mike to go to prison," I said for what felt like the 100th time. "I understand. But you need to understand that what they did is a crime. Whether you press charges or not, once we revoke that power of attorney and Mike finds out, things are going to escalate." "Escalate how?" Detective Chen and James exchanged looks. "People who commit financial crimes often get desperate when they realize they're about to be caught," Chen said carefully. "Desperate people do desperate things." "You think Mike would hurt me?" "I think we should take precautions. I'd like to set up surveillance on your house. Cameras at the front and back doors. And I'd like you to keep your phone on you at all times with 911 on speed dial." This was real. This was actually happening. "Okay," I whispered. 2 days later, James and I went back to the notary's office. Mrs. Chen was there again. She looked at me over her reading glasses. "Mrs. Thompson, you're back. I need to revoke the power of attorney I granted to my son." She didn't look surprised. "Are you doing this of your own free will?" "I am." "You understand that once this is filed, your son will be notified immediately. He'll lose all authority to act on your behalf." "I understand." She slid the papers across the desk. "Sign here, and here, and here." I signed. This time my hands didn't shake. This time I knew exactly what I was doing. "Done," Mrs. Chen said, stamping the documents. "As of now, Michael Thompson no longer has power of attorney. I'll send the official notification to his address on file. He should receive it within 24 hours. James and I walked out to his car. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we wait, and we prepare for whatever comes next." Section 6, twist number 4, the pregnancy lie. The notification was delivered to Mike's apartment at 2 p.m. the next day. I know because Rachel called me. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm at my aunt's house. Jessica's here. She just opened some legal document and she's screaming." "What's she saying?" "That you revoked the power of attorney. That you've ruined everything. She's on the phone with someone now. Marcus, I think." "Wait," I heard shouting in the background, Jessica's voice high and angry. "She's saying they need to move up the timeline," Rachel continued. "She's telling someone that they need to get the house before the bank takes it. Mrs. Thompson, I think they're planning something." "Keep listening. Be safe. Call me if anything else happens." 3 hours later, Rachel called again. "Mrs. Thompson, I need to tell you something. About Sophie." "What about her?" "Jessica isn't pregnant with a second baby." "What, Dee? She's been telling everyone she is. She's got a fake ultrasound she printed from the internet. She showed it to my aunt last week. But I saw her Instagram story yesterday. She was at a bar drinking martinis with friends. No pregnant woman drinks like that. Why would she lie about being pregnant? I think I think she was planning to use it to get more money from you, or from Mike, or as leverage in the divorce. I don't know. But Mrs. Thompson, I'm a nurse. I know what pregnancy looks like. Jessica isn't pregnant. Another lie, another manipulation. How many lies had I believed? Rachel, thank you for everything. Mrs. Thompson, be careful. Jessica is... She's scary when she's angry. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. Section 7, Climax 1, The Belt. It happened on June 15th, 2023, 3 days after Mike received the revocation notice. I was home alone making coffee in my kitchen. It was 4 p.m. Sunny, beautiful June day. I heard the front door open. Not a knock, just the door opening. Mike still had a key. Mom! His voice was tight, angry. In the kitchen, I called. He walked in. Jessica was behind him carrying Sophie. Mike's face was red. His jaw was clenched. He was holding a yellow folder. What the hell did you do? He asked. Mike, don't talk to your mother that way. Don't... He slammed the folder on my kitchen table. You revoked the power of attorney after everything we did for you. Everything you did for me? My voice came out calmer than I felt. You mortgaged my house without telling me. You stopped making payments. You were planning to let it foreclose and buy it at auction. His face went pale. How did you... I know everything, Mike. The affair Jessica's having with Marcus Cole. The plan to divorce you. The fake pregnancy. I looked at Jessica. Yes, I know about that too. Jessica's mask slipped. Her eyes went cold. You stupid old woman. Mike looked shocked. Oh, shut up, Mike. You're as pathetic as she is. Jessica shifted Sophie to her other hip. You know what, fine. We tried to do this the easy way. But if you want to play hardball, Eleanor, let's play. She pulled out her phone, showed Mike a document. See this? This is a contract I had drawn up. If Eleanor refuses to cooperate, we petition the court to declare her mentally incompetent. We have witnesses who'll testify she's forgetful, can't manage her own affairs. Then I become her guardian and we can do whatever we want. You're insane, I whispered. I'm practical. Now we brought new power of attorney papers. You're going to sign them, right now, or you will never see Sophie again. Ever. Mike and I will move to Texas. You'll die alone in this house while the bank takes it. Is that what you want? Mike was staring at her. Jess, what the hell are you talking about? What I'm talking about, Michael, is that your mother just ruined our lives. She's destroyed our financial plan. The bank is going to foreclose on this house in 60 days. We've got $100,000 in debt. And unless she signs these papers right now, we're finished. Financial plan, Mike's voice cracked. You told me we were helping my mom. You said she needed us. Oh, grow up. She never needed us. She has a pension. She has savings. She owns this house. She's worth $500,000 if we play this right. Mike turned to look at me. Really look at me. And I saw the moment he understood. You were using her, he said slowly. This whole time. You were using both of us. Of course I was. Did you really think I married you for love? You're a warehouse supervisor, Mike. You make $40,000 a year. I needed access to something bigger, and your mom's house was sitting right there. Mike took a step back. Sophie. Is Sophie even mine? Jessica laughed. Actually laughed. Marcus is her father. We planned it, the whole thing. Meet a Mark, get pregnant, get access to assets, liquidate, and get out. You were just unlucky enough to be the Mark. Sophie started crying. The tension in the room was frightening her. Mike's face went through a dozen emotions. Shock, pain, betrayal, and then rage. Get out, he said quietly. What? Get out of my mother's house, now. Jessica's face hardened. No, not until she signs. I said get out. Mike moved toward her. Jessica backed away, clutching Sophie. Don't you touch me, Mike. And then Mike did something I'd never seen him do before. He took off his belt. The leather slid through the loops with a sound like a whisper. He wrapped it around his right hand. You're going to give me my daughter, Mike said, his voice shaking. And then you're going to leave. And if you ever come near my mother again, I swear to God... Mike, I said. Don't. But he wasn't hearing me. He was staring at Jessica with murder in his eyes. Jessica was backing toward the door, Sophie screaming now. Mike, you're scaring her. You're scaring Sophie. Give her to me. He raised the belt. and the doorbell rang. Ding dong, everyone froze. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, loud, insistent. Don't answer it, Jessica hissed, but I was already moving toward the door. Mom, wait. I opened it. James Bradford stood there in his gray suit briefcase in hand. Detective Sarah Chen stood beside him in her police uniform. Behind them, another officer, Officer Rodriguez according to his name tag. Good afternoon, Mrs. Thompson, James said calmly. Is everything all right? I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. Detective Chen looked past me into the house. Her eyes went straight to the belt in Mike's hand. Sir, she said, her voice professional but firm, I need you to drop that belt, right now. Mike looked down at his hand, at the belt, like he'd forgotten he was holding it. It dropped to the floor with a dull thump. Jessica started talking fast. Officers, thank God you're here. This is a misunderstanding. We're just having a family discussion. Mrs. Parker Thompson, Detective Chen said, we've been listening to everything through the door camera Mrs. Thompson's neighbor helped us install yesterday. You just admitted to fraud, conspiracy, and extortion. You and Mr. Cole are going to need to come down to the station. What? No, I have rights. I want my lawyer. You can call your lawyer from the station. Officer Rodriguez, please escort Mrs. Parker Thompson to the car. Wait, what about Sophie? Jessica clutched my granddaughter tighter. You can't take her. Child Services has been notified, Detective Chen said. Someone is on their way to take custody until this situation is sorted out. No, she's my daughter. She's a child in a volatile situation. We're doing what's best for her safety. Officer Rodriguez gently took Sophie from Jessica's arms. Sophie was crying, reaching for me. Grandma, my heart shattered. Rodriguez carried her outside. Jessica was screaming, cursing, threatening lawsuits. Detective Chen turned to Mike. Mr. Thompson, I need you to come down to the station, too, for questioning. Am I under arrest? Not at this time, but you were in possession of a weapon in a threatening manner. We need your statement. Mike looked at me. His eyes were full of tears. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, I whispered. They took them away. All of them. Jessica in handcuffs, still screaming. Mike with his head down, looking like a broken man. Sophie crying in a stranger's arms. When they were gone, the house was silent. James put a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing, Eleanor. Then why does it feel like I just destroyed my family? Because sometimes doing the right thing hurts, but the alternative would have hurt worse. Pat appeared from across the street where she'd been watching from her window. She didn't say anything. She just hugged me while I cried. Section 8, twist number 5, Mike's confession. Detective Chen called me the next morning. Mrs. Thompson, your son has asked to speak with you at the station, with me present. Is he under arrest? Not yet, but depending on what happens, he might be. I went. Pat drove me. James met us there. They took me to an interview room. Gray walls, fluorescent lights, a table and 4 chairs. Mike sat on one side. He looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. I sat across from him. Detective Chen stood by the door. Mike, I said, are you okay? He laughed, a bitter sound. No, Mom, I'm not okay. My wife is a con artist. My daughter isn't my daughter. I almost hurt someone with a belt. I'm the furthest thing from okay. Why did you want to see me? He took a breath. Because I need to tell you the truth. All of it. Before you hear it from anyone else. Okay? Mom, I embezzled money from my company in 2018. $50,000. My stomach dropped. What? I had a gambling problem. I'd been betting on sports for years. I lost big. I took money from the company accounts to cover my debts. They never found out because I cooked the books. He covered his face with his hands. Jessica found out somehow. She had proof. Screenshots of the accounts. She said if I didn't marry her, she'd turn me in. I'd go to prison. Mike, so I married her. I thought if I made her happy, she'd forget about it. She'd let it go. But she didn't. She just kept asking for more. More money, more access. And then she got pregnant, and I thought, okay, maybe this is real now. Maybe she does care about me. About us. He looked up. His eyes were red. But she doesn't. She never did. She used me to get to you. And I let her because I was too weak to stand up to her. Too scared to face what I'd done. Is Child Services going to give Sophie back to you? I asked. I don't know. Probably not. She's not even mine biologically. And even if I fight for custody, what court is going to give a kid to a guy who almost hit someone with a belt? You didn't hit anyone. But I would have. His voice broke. Mom, if the police hadn't shown up, I think I would have. I was that angry. And that scares me more than anything. We sat in silence. What happens now? I finally asked. Detective Chen says if I cooperate, if I testify against Jessica and Marcus Cole, they might offer me a deal. Probation instead of jail time for the embezzlement. Mandatory counseling. Restitution. What about the house? I don't know. That's between you and the bank. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for all of it. I looked at my son. This man I'd raised. This person I'd failed so completely by loving too much in all the wrong ways. Mike, I said slowly, do you know who your biological father is? He looked confused. What? Of course. It's Dad. It was Dad. No, it wasn't, I told him, about the affair, about William knowing, about the video message. Mike listened without speaking. When I finished, he was crying. So Dad wasn't my father. He was your father in every way that mattered. But no, not biologically. Who was a man named Daniel Morrison. He died 4 years ago. You'll never meet him. Mike put his head down on the table. I don't even know who I am anymore, he whispered. You're my son, I said, and you've made terrible mistakes, but you're still my son, and I still love you. How can you? After everything I did, because that's what mothers do. We love you even when you break our hearts, even when you steal from us, even when you threaten us with belts. I stood up. But Mike, I need you to understand something. Loving you doesn't mean I'm going to save you anymore. You did this. You have to fix it. I'll support you. I'll visit you. I'll be here. But I'm not giving you money. I'm not paying for lawyers. I'm not signing any more papers. You're 42 years old. It's time you learn to stand on your own feet. He nodded. I understand. Good. I walked to the door, turned back. Mike, yeah, your father William, he loved you so much. He wanted you to be strong, to be independent, to be a man who earned what he had. That's all he ever wanted. And I think it's time you became that man. I'll try, Mom. I promise. Don't promise. Just do it. Section 9, twist number 6, Sophie's true father. The DNA test results came back 3 days later. Marcus Cole was Sophie's biological father. No doubt. But Marcus Cole was also wanted in 3 states for various fraud schemes. California, Oregon, Illinois now. The FBI got involved. They found evidence that Jessica Parker, also known as Jennifer Collins, also known as Jessica Brennan, had run this exact scam before. Target middle-class families. Identify a vulnerable person, usually a man with mother issues or money problems. Get pregnant. Get access to assets. Liquidate. Disappear. Mike was her 3rd victim. The first had lost his parents' retirement savings, $400,000. The second had lost his family business, sold it to pay Jessica's debts. Both men had tried to report her. Both times she'd disappeared before police could build a case. Mrs. Thompson, Detective Chen said, showing me the files, you stopped a serial con artist. If you'd signed those papers, Jessica and Marcus would have taken your house, sold it, and disappeared. You'd never see Sophie again, and they'd move on to the next victim. What's going to happen to Sophie? I asked. She's in foster care right now. Marcus's parental rights are being terminated. He's going to prison. Jessica's too. Mike can petition for custody, but given that he's not the biological father, he raised her for 9 months. He loves her. I know, and the court will take that into consideration, but it's complicated. Complicated. Such a small word for such devastation. Section 10, the courtroom. Jessica's trial was in September 2023. I testified. So did Pat. So did Rachel. The recordings were played in court. Every damning word. Jessica's lawyer tried to argue entrapment. Illegal recording. Inadmissible evidence. The judge wasn't buying it. Ms. Parker, Judge Morrison said, you deliberately targeted a family for financial exploitation. You defrauded an elderly woman of her home. You blackmailed your husband. You faked pregnancy. You planned to commit further fraud. The evidence is overwhelming." Jessica stared at me from the defense table. Her eyes were full of hate. "You did this," she mouthed. "This is your fault." "No, I thought. This is yours. The verdict, guilty on all counts. Sentence 8 to 12 years in federal prison. Marcus Cole got 10 years for his role in the scheme." As they led Jessica away in handcuffs, she turned one last time. "You'll never see Sophie again," she screamed at me. "Never, I'll make sure of it." But she couldn't. She was going to prison for almost a decade. Opening reminder. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, let me catch you up quickly. In part 1, I discovered my son Mike had mortgaged my house for $400,000 without telling me. My daughter-in-law Jessica was planning to steal everything and disappear with her lover, Marcus Cole. In part 2, Jessica was arrested and sentenced to 8 to 12 years in federal prison. But my granddaughter Sophie was in foster care. My son was facing his own charges, and I still hadn't gotten my house back. This is the final chapter, the one where everything comes together or falls apart. Comment below what country you're watching from. And stay until the end, because what happened in that prison visiting room changed my life forever. Section 1, Mike's Trial, October 2023. Mike's trial was quieter than Jessica's. Smaller courtroom, fewer people. Just me, Pat James Bradford, and a court-appointed counselor who'd been working with Mike for the past 3 months. The charge is embezzlement from his former employer 2018 and assault with intent, the belt incident downgraded from assault with a weapon. Mike stood before Judge William Harris. He'd lost weight. His suit one I'd bought him for a job interview 5 years ago hung loose on his frame. "Mr. Thompson," Judge Harris said, looking over his reading glasses, "you've pleaded guilty to both charges. Before I pass sentence, do you have anything to say?" Mike cleared his throat. His hands shook. "Your Honor, I did everything I'm accused of. I embezzled money to cover gambling debts. I threatened someone I love in a moment of rage. There's no excuse for any of it." His voice cracked. "I've spent the last 4 months in therapy. I've been going to Gamblers Anonymous. I got a job at a warehouse. It's not much, but it's honest work. I'm trying to become the kind of man my mother and father thought I could be." He looked back at me. "I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm asking for the chance to prove I can be better. For my daughter Sophie, who needs a father. For my mother, who deserved better than what I gave her. And for myself, because I have to live with what I've done for the rest of my life." Judge Harris was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Thompson, you've caused significant harm. To your former employer, to your mother, to yourself." He paused. "However, I've reviewed the letters submitted on your behalf. Your therapist believes you're genuinely committed to change. Your employer at the warehouse says you're reliable and hardworking. And your mother, despite everything, has asked this court to show mercy." I'd written a 3-page letter explaining everything. Not excusing, explaining. "Therefore," Judge Harris continued, "I'm sentencing you to 5 years probation. During that time, you will continue weekly therapy sessions, attend Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times per week, perform 500 hours of community service, and pay restitution to both your former employer and your mother on a payment plan determined by this court." Mike's knees nearly gave out. "Additionally, you are prohibited from entering any casino gambling establishment or online betting site. You will submit to random drug and alcohol testing. You will maintain full-time employment. Any violation of these terms will result in immediate incarceration. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Thank you. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet, Mr. Thompson. This is your one chance. Don't waste it." We walked out of the courthouse into October sunshine. Mike stopped on the steps. He turned to me. "Mom, I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything. Just do better." He nodded. "I'm paying you back. Every penny. It might take 20 years, but I'm paying you back." "Mike, forget about the money for now. Focus on yourself, on getting healthy, on being the kind of father Sophie needs." "Sophie," his face crumpled. "Mom, what if I can't get her back?" "Then you fight. You fight for her the way you should have fought for yourself all these years." Pat drove us home. Mike followed in his beat-up Honda Civic. When we got to my house that was still somehow mine, for now Mike hesitated at the door. "Can I come in?" he asked. "Or do you want me to leave?" "You can come in, but Mike, there are going to be rules now." "Okay." We sat at the kitchen table. the same table where this nightmare had started. Rule 1, I said. No more lying, about anything, even small things. If I ask you a question, I get the truth. Agreed. Rule 2, you don't ask me for money, not $5, not $50, nothing. You manage your own finances. Agreed. Rule 3, you show up, for therapy, for GA meetings, for Sophie. You made promises before and broke them. No more broken promises. Mike's eyes filled with tears. I can do that, Mom. I swear I can. And Rule 4, I took a breath. You call me once a week, not because you need something, just to talk, like a son talks to his mother. Can you do that? Yes. He was crying now. Yes, I can do that. We sat in silence for a moment. Mom, he said quietly, why are you giving me another chance, after everything? I thought about William's video, about the boy Mike could have been, about the man he might still become. Because you're my son, and because for the first time in your life you're actually trying. That's all I ever wanted, Mike, for you to try. Section 2, The Custody Battle. Climax number 2 continues. Sophie's custody hearing was in November 2023. The courtroom was packed. Mike, me, Rachel Parker, who'd testified against Jessica, a representative from Child Services, a court-appointed guardian for Sophie, and Marcus Cole's mother, Mrs. Dorothy Cole. She was 72, gray hair in a tight bun, designer clothes, cold eyes. I'm petitioning for custody of my granddaughter, she announced. I'm her biological grandmother. I have the means to provide for her. And unlike Mr. Thompson, I'm actually related to the child. Mike's lawyer, a public defender named Tom Chen, stood up. Your Honor, Mrs. Cole's son is in federal prison for fraud. He abandoned his daughter. He never paid a cent of child support. Mrs. Cole herself had no relationship with Sophie for the first 2 years of the child's life. Because I didn't know she existed, Mrs. Cole snapped. My son kept her a secret. But now I do know, and I have rights. Judge Helen Morrison, the family court judge, looked tired. Mr. Thompson, she said, you're not Sophie's biological father. You have no legal parental rights. Why should I grant you custody? Mike stood. His voice was shaky but clear. Your Honor, I know I'm not Sophie's biological father, but I'm the only father she's ever known. I was there when she was born. I changed her diapers. I rocked her to sleep. I taught her to say Dada. She calls me Daddy. You also threatened your mother with a belt while holding that child. I did, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But I wasn't threatening Sophie. I was trying to protect her from Jessica. I was trying to do the right thing in the worst possible way. He took a breath. Your Honor, I've made terrible mistakes. I've been weak. I've been a coward. I've let people manipulate me. But I love Sophie. She's my daughter in every way that matters. And if you give me custody, I swear on my father's grave that I will spend every day proving I deserve her. Judge Morrison turned to the Child Services representative. Ms. Washington, what's your recommendation? Ms. Washington stood. She was a black woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Your Honor, I've done home visits with both parties. Mr. Thompson lives in a modest 2-bedroom apartment. It's clean, safe, and fully stocked with age-appropriate toys and supplies. He's employed. He's in therapy. He's compliant with all court orders. She flipped through her notes. Mrs. Cole lives in a mansion in Winnetka. She has unlimited financial resources, but she also has no experience with young children. She travels frequently. And when I asked her about Sophie's routine, what she eats when she naps, what comforts her, she couldn't answer a single question. Mrs. Cole's lawyer jumped up. That's because she hasn't had access to the child. How could she know? Mr. Thompson knew? Ms. Washington interrupted. When I asked him the same questions, he told me Sophie likes her mac and cheese with cut-up hot dogs. She naps at 1 p.m., but only if you read Goodnight Moon first. She's afraid of the dark, so she needs a nightlight shaped like a star. She has a stuffed elephant named Mr. Snuggles that she can't sleep without. Judge Morrison looked at Mike. Is that accurate? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Snuggles was a gift from my mom. Sophie's had him since she was 3 months old. The judge made a note. Mrs. Thompson, she said, looking at me, You're Sophie's grandmother through your son, not through blood. What's your position on custody? I stood up. My legs were shaking. Your Honor, Mike is my son. Sophie is my granddaughter. Blood doesn't change that. Love makes family. And Mike loves that little girl with everything he has. And if I grant him custody, will you be involved? Yes, Your Honor. I'll help however I can. Babysitting, emergency care, whatever Mike needs. But I won't raise her for him. Those days are over. Mike needs to be Sophie's parent. I'll just be her grandmother. Judge Morrison was quiet for a long time. She looked at her notes, at Mike, at Mrs. Cole, at me. I'm granting conditional custody to Michael Thompson, she finally said. Mrs. Cole gasped. You can't. Mrs. Cole, your son is a criminal. He's never supported his daughter. And frankly, I believe Sophie needs stability more than she needs wealth. Mr. Thompson has demonstrated a genuine commitment to change. And most importantly, he's the only parent figure this child has ever known. She looked at Mike sternly. However, Mr. Thompson, this is conditional. For the next 6 months, you will have supervised visits with Eleanor Thompson as the court-appointed supervisor. You will continue all court-ordered therapy and treatment. You will maintain employment. Child Services will do monthly home visits. After 6 months, we'll review. If everything is satisfactory, custody becomes permanent. If not, we revisit. Understood. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mike was crying. So was I. We walked out of the courthouse. For the first time in months, Mike smiled. I get Sophie back, Mom. I actually get her back. You earned her back, I corrected. Now don't mess it up. I won't. I swear I won't. Section 3. The House Resolution. Getting my house back was complicated. The mortgage Mike had taken out was legal. He'd had power of attorney at the time. But James Bradford argued that it was obtained through coercion and fraud. The recordings proved Jessica was manipulating both you and Mike, James explained in his office. We can argue the mortgage was taken out under false pretenses. Will the bank accept that? Banks don't like lawsuits, especially ones that might expose predatory lending practices. I think we can negotiate. It took 3 months. 3 months of legal filings and phone calls and negotiations. Finally, in January 2024, James called me. Elle, I have news. The bank has agreed to void the mortgage. I nearly dropped the phone. What? They're writing it off as a loss. They'll take a tax deduction. In exchange, you sign an agreement not to sue them for failing to properly verify Mike's authority to take out such a large loan. So, my house is mine again, free and clear. Free and clear. I'm emailing you the paperwork now. Sign it and send it back. By next week, you'll have a new deed with no mortgage attached. I hung up and cried for 20 minutes. Pat came over with champagne, cheap champagne from Walgreens, but still. To surviving, she said, raising her plastic cup. To surviving, I echoed. We drank in my living room, in my house. You know what the best part is, Pat said. What Jessica thought she was so smart, thought she had it all figured out. And now she's in prison, you have your house, and Mike has Sophie. She lost everything. She lost because she was cruel, I said. And cruelty always loses in the end. Does it, though? Pat asked. Seems like cruel people win a lot in this world. Not forever, maybe not quickly, but eventually life collects what they owe. I really believe that. Section 4 Healing, December 2023 to May 2024. The next 6 months were the hardest and best of my life. Mike moved into a 2-bedroom apartment 15 minutes from my house. It wasn't fancy. Beige carpet, popcorn ceiling, but it was clean and safe. Sophie came to stay with him every weekend, supervised by me. The first weekend was awkward. Sophie didn't remember him at first. She'd been in foster care for 4 months, long enough for a 2-year-old to forget. Who that? She asked, pointing at Mike. My heart broke for him, but he smiled. I'm your daddy, Sophie. Remember we used to play with your stuffed elephant, Mr. Snuggles. Sophie's face lit up. Mr. Snuggles, where Mr. Snuggles? Right here, baby? Mike pulled out the elephant from a bag. I kept him safe for you. Sophie grabbed Mr. Snuggles and hugged him tight. Then slowly she walked over to Mike and climbed into his lap. Daddy, she said. Mike started crying. He held her so carefully like she was made of glass. Yeah, baby, I'm your daddy, and I'm never leaving you again. Over the weeks, Sophie readjusted. She learned the apartment, learned the routines, learned to trust again. And Mike was different. He showed up, every therapy appointment, every GA meeting, every weekend on time prepared. He read parenting books. He Sophie-proofed his apartment. He learned to cook simple meals, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese spaghetti. Mom, how did you do this? He asked one Saturday while Sophie napped on his couch. How did you raise a kid and work and keep a house? You just do, I said, because you have to. I'm exhausted, and I only have her on weekends. Welcome to parenthood. He laughed, actually laughed. I hadn't heard him laugh in years. In March, Mike got promoted at the warehouse. Not a big promotion from general worker to shift lead, but it came with a raise. $4 more per hour, he told me excited as a kid. Mom, that's almost $7,000 more a year. I can save for Sophie's college. I can pay you back faster. Mike, I told you, no, I'm paying you back. $50 a month. That's what I can afford right now, but I'm paying you back. The first check came in April. $50. Made out to Eleanor Thompson. Written in Mike's messy handwriting. I framed it instead of cashing it. Pat thought I was crazy. Elle, you need that money. I need to know my son has pride more than I need $50. Section 5, Joint Therapy, The Reckoning. In April, Mike's therapist, a woman named Dr. Lisa Park, suggested joint therapy sessions. Mike's made significant progress, she told me over the phone. But there's unresolved trauma between you two, things that need to be said in a safe space. Will it help? I think it's necessary, for both of you. Our first session was terrifying. Dr. Park's office was small, comfortable, 2 chairs facing each other, a box of tissues on the table between us. Today, Dr. Park said, we're going to talk about expectations and resentment. Mike, you're going to tell your mother how you really feel about your childhood. Eleanor, you're going to listen without defending. Then we'll switch. Okay, I nodded. So did Mike. Mike, Dr. Park prompted. Go ahead. Mike took a breath. Mom, I've been angry at you for a long time, and I never said it because I thought it made me ungrateful. Angry about what? I asked. About you always fixing everything. About never letting me fail. When I crashed Dad's car senior year, you paid for it. When I dropped out of college the first time, you just signed me up again the next semester. When I lost my job, you paid my rent. You never let me face consequences. His voice shook. And I know you did it because you loved me. But Mom, it made me weak. It made me think I could do anything and you'd bail me out. And when Jessica came along and started manipulating me, I didn't even recognize it because I was used to someone else solving my problems. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but Dr. Park shook her head. Just listen, she mouthed. I'm not blaming you for what I did, Mike continued. I made my choices, but I need you to know that your love, it suffocated me sometimes. It made me feel like I couldn't be a man because you were always treating me like a child. Tears streamed down my face. Okay, Dr. Park said gently. Eleanor, your turn. How do you feel about what Mike just said? I took a tissue, wiped my eyes. I hear you, I said, and you're right. I did those things. I fixed everything because I was terrified of losing you. Losing me. After your father died, you were all I had, and I thought if I wasn't useful, if I wasn't helping, you wouldn't need me anymore. And if you didn't need me, I couldn't finish. You thought I'd leave, Mike said quietly. Yes. Mom, Mike leaned forward. I'm an adult. I should have left. I should have built my own life. The fact that I didn't isn't because you were so helpful. It's because I was so weak. You weren't weak. I was lazy. I was entitled. I was exactly what you and Dad made me. He took my hand. But I'm not blaming you anymore. I'm just saying we both made mistakes. And maybe it's time we forgive each other for them. Dr. Park smiled. That's good progress. Really good. Over the next few sessions, we unpacked more. My guilt over the affair that led to Mike's birth. Mike's feelings about learning William wasn't his biological father. The pattern of enabling and dependency we'd built over 40 years. It was painful. It was necessary. And slowly, something shifted between us. We weren't just mother and son anymore. We were two adults who were learning how to have a healthy relationship. You know what's weird? Mike said after our 6th session. I feel like I'm getting to know you for the first time. The real you, not just mom who fixes everything. And I like you. You're actually pretty cool. I laughed through tears. You're not so bad yourself. Section 6, Climax Number 3, The Prison Visit. In June 2024, 1 year after the belt incident, I got a letter from Jessica, written on prison stationery. Careful handwriting. Eleanor, I know you hate me. I deserve that. But I'm asking you to visit me. Once. There are things I need to say, things you need to hear. Federal Correctional Institution, Danbury. Visiting hours are Saturdays 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. p.m., please. Jessica. I showed it to Pat. Should I go? Absolutely not. That woman is a snake. She'll manipulate you. I showed it to Mike. What do you think? He stared at the letter for a long time. I think you need closure. And maybe she does too. James Bradford was cautious. If you go, don't agree to anything. Don't sign anything. This could be a trick. Dr. Park was supportive. Sometimes confronting our abusers is part of healing, but only you can decide if you're ready. I thought about it for a week. Finally, I called the prison and scheduled a visit. Meow. The confrontation. Federal Correctional Institution, Danbury, Connecticut. Saturday, June 15th, 2024. Pat drove me. She waited in the parking lot. I'll be right here. If she says one thing that upsets you, you walk out. Promise me. I promise. The security process was humiliating. Metal detector, bag search, pat down. I'd never been to a prison before. The visiting room was depressing. Gray walls, plastic chairs, vending machines, families sitting across from inmates talking in low voices. I sat at table 7. 10 minutes later, a guard brought Jessica in. I barely recognized her. No makeup, hair pulled back in a plain ponytail, orange jumpsuit. She'd lost weight. She looked ordinary, human. She sat down across from me. Her hands were shaking. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I almost didn't. I know. She looked down at her hands. Eleanor, I need to say something, and I need you to let me finish before you leave. Okay? Okay. She took a breath. I'm a terrible person. I know that now. I didn't before, but I do now. I've spent a year in here thinking about what I did. To you. To Mike. To Sophie. And I finally understand. Understand what? That I destroyed lives because I was too selfish to build my own. I targeted you because you had something I never had, a real family. People who actually cared about each other. And instead of trying to build that for myself, I tried to steal yours. Tears ran down her face. No mascara to smudge, just tears. I told myself I was smart, that I was just surviving in a hard world, that you were naive and I was teaching you a lesson. But the truth is, I was just cruel, and I hurt people who didn't deserve it. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you deserve an apology, a real one. Not because I want something from you, not because I think it'll help my case, but because you deserve to hear that what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry. I stared at her, looking for the manipulation, the angle, the trick. I didn't find one. Are you dying? I asked. She laughed, a sad sound. No, I'm in therapy here, court-ordered, and my therapist made me write down everyone I hurt. You were at the top of the list. She pulled out a piece of paper, unfolded it. Eleanor Thompson. I stole her house. I manipulated her son. I threatened to take away her granddaughter. I made her feel worthless in her own home. I laughed at her kindness. I used her love as a weapon. She looked up. I wrote 2 pages about what I did to you, and when I was done, I understood something. I'm not a victim of circumstance. I'm not a survivor doing what I had to do. I'm just a bad person who made bad choices, and I have to live with that. I didn't know what to say. I'm not asking you to forgive me, Jessica continued. I don't deserve that. I'm just asking you to know that I'm sorry, and that if I could undo it all, I would. You can't undo it, I said, but you can change. You can be better. People like me don't usually get better. People like you don't usually admit what they are. That's the first step. She wiped her eyes. How's Sophie? She's good. She's with Mike. They're doing well. And Mike? He's sober. He's working. He's in therapy. He's being a father. Jessica smiled. Genuinely smiled. Good. He deserves that. He's a good man. I never appreciated that when I had him. What about Marcus? I asked. Her face hardened. Marcus can rot. He used me as much as I used other people. Maybe I deserve that too. We sat in silence. Eleanor, Jessica finally said, can I ask you something? What, Mel? How did you do it? How did you stay kind after everything I did to you? You could have let them throw away the key. But Mike told me in one of his letters that you spoke at his sentencing. You asked for mercy for him. Why? I thought about it. About William. About Mike. About the years of mistakes and love and pain. Because cruelty doesn't heal anything, I said. It just creates more cruelty. And I decided a long time ago that I'd rather be kind and hurt than cruel and safe. That's a hard way to live. It is, but it's the only way I know how. Jessica nodded. She stood up. Thank you for coming. I know you didn't have to. Jessica, I said as she turned to go, I hope you find peace, real peace, the kind that doesn't come from hurting people. Me too, Mrs. Thompson. Me too. The guard led her away. I walked out of that prison into sunshine. Pat was waiting by the car. Well, she asked. How do you feel free? I said. For the first time in years, I feel free. Section 7 1 year later. Epilogue. October 2025. Sophie's 4th birthday party. My backyard is full of people. Mike, Sophie, Pat, Rachel and her new boyfriend, James Bradford and his wife, Dr. Park, even Tom Chen, Mike's lawyer who'd become a friend. Sophie is running through the grass chasing bubbles. Her laugh fills the air. Grandma, Grandma, watch me. She jumps over the garden hose, barely clears it, lands on her bottom. We all cheer. Mike comes up beside me. He's gained back the weight he lost. He looks healthy, happy. Thanks for doing this, Mom. It's what grandmas do. No, I mean, thanks for everything. For not giving up on me. For fighting for Sophie. For teaching me what real love looks like. Mike, you did the work. I just stood beside you. That's more than I deserved. Sophie runs over and crashes into Mike's legs. Daddy cake now. After dinner bug. But I hungry now. Mike laughs and picks her up. Nice try. How about carrots? Carrots is yucky. Grandma made them special, with honey. Sophie considers this. Okay, but then cake, then cake. They walk toward the picnic table where I've laid out food. Simple stuff. Hot dogs, pasta salad, watermelon. Pat sidles up beside me. You did good, Elle. We're not done yet. Mike still has 4 years of probation. But he's going to make it. You know that, right? I watch Mike help Sophie wash her hands at the garden spigot. Watch the way he talks to her, patient and gentle. Yeah, I say. I think he is. Later, after the cake and presents and games, after everyone else has left, it's just Mike, Sophie, Pat, and me. Sophie is asleep on my couch, chocolate frosting still on her face. I should get her home, Mike says quietly. Bath and bed. Or you could stay, I suggest. Just tonight. She's already asleep. No point in waking her. Mike looks surprised. Really? Really. You take my bedroom. I'll sleep in the guest room. Mom, I can't take your bed. Mike, you're doing me a favor. I've been meaning to test out that new mattress in the guest room anyway. He knows I'm lying, but he also knows I'm offering something bigger than a bed. I'm offering home. Thanks, Mom, he says. After he carries Sophie upstairs, Pat and I clean up in the kitchen. You're letting them stay over, she asks. Why not? It's my house. I can have whoever I want here. You've come a long way from the woman who was afraid to set boundaries. I've learned that love and boundaries aren't opposites. They work together. I love Mike. I love Sophie. But I also love myself. And all 3 of those loves can exist at the same time. Pat hugs me. William would be proud of you. I hope so. That night I lie in the guest bed listening to the sounds of my house. Mike's soft snoring from my bedroom. Sophie's occasional sleep babble. The creak of old floorboards. The hum of the refrigerator. My house. My home. still mine. I think about the journey that brought me here, the pain, the betrayal, the terror, the belt wrapped around Mike's fist, Jessica's cold eyes, the courtrooms and lawyers and sleepless nights. And I think about what came after, the healing, the therapy, the slow rebuilding of trust, the second chances. I pull out my phone, open my photos. There's a picture from today. Sophie with frosting on her nose, Mike laughing behind her, Pat making a silly face, me with my arms around all of them. Family, not the one I thought I'd have, but the one I fought for and earned and built from the ashes of what was broken. My phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. I open it. Mrs. Thompson, this is Jessica. I got your mailing address from Mike. I made something in art therapy. It's small, not much, but I'd like to send it to you if that's okay. No pressure, just if you're willing to accept it. I think about it for a long time. Finally, I type back. You can send it. Take care of yourself, Jessica. 3 dots appear. Then thank you for everything. Tell Sophie happy birthday from someone who wishes she'd been better. I don't respond to that. Some things don't need responses. I turn off the light. Tomorrow, Mike starts his new job. Not at the warehouse he got promoted to supervisor at a logistics company. Better pay, better hours, more time with Sophie. Tomorrow, Sophie starts preschool. Mike is nervous. What if the other kids are mean to her? What if she doesn't make friends? Then she'll learn resilience, I told him, the same way you did. Tomorrow, life continues. But tonight, in this moment, in this house, everything is exactly as it should be. I fall asleep thinking about William, about the video message he left me. Don't let anyone take it from you, not even our son. I didn't, William. I didn't. I kept our house, our dignity, our family. And I learned something you tried to teach me all those years ago. Love without boundaries isn't love. It's self-destruction. But love with boundaries, that's the kind of love that survives, that heals, that changes people. That's the kind of love that lasts. Final reflection. 3 years later. It's October 2028 now. Sophie is 7 years old and in 2nd grade. Mike has been sober for 6 years. He's off probation. He has full custody of Sophie. He's dating someone, a nice woman named Lauren, who teaches kindergarten and treats Sophie like gold. I'm 70 years old, still living in my house, still having Sunday dinners with my family, still learning that it's okay to say no. Last month I got a letter from the prison. Jessica was being released early for good behavior. 8 years instead of 12. I don't know where she is now. I don't need to know. She sent the art therapy project she mentioned. It arrived 3 years ago. A small watercolor painting of a house. My house, with people standing in the front yard. On the back she'd written, "I'm sorry I tried to take this from you. I hope you're happy there." I framed it. It hangs in my guest bedroom now, not because I forgave everything, but because it reminds me that people can change. Even people who hurt us. Sophie asks about her mother sometimes. Why doesn't she live with us? Because she made mistakes, Mike tells her. Big ones. And she's trying to fix them. Will she ever come back? I don't know, Bug, maybe, but we're okay either way, right? Right, because we have Grandma. And they do. They have me, and I have them. And this house, this beautiful sturdy house that William and I bought 40 years ago, still stands. It's been mortgaged and nearly stolen and fought over in court. But it's still here, still mine, still home. Sometimes at night when I'm sitting on the porch, I swear I can feel William next to me. You did good, Elle, he whispers on the wind. You finally learned. Learned what? That the strongest love is the love that sets boundaries. The love that says, I love you, but I won't let you destroy me. That's the love that changes the world. He's right. I spent 60 years thinking that love meant sacrifice, giving until there was nothing left, putting everyone else first. But I learned that real love, the kind that heals and strengthens and endures, requires boundaries, requires self-respect, requires the courage to say no. It requires you to save yourself first, because if you lose yourself trying to save others, you have nothing left to give, and everyone loses. Closing message. So that's my story. The day my son grabbed a belt to force me to sign. The day I almost lost everything. and the long journey back to myself. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, being manipulated, being used, being taken advantage of by someone you love, please hear me. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. Saying no isn't selfish, it's survival. And walking away from people who hurt you, even family, isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. I chose myself that day when I revoked the power of attorney, when I let the police arrest my son, when I testified in court. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, and it saved my life. What would you do in my situation? Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and protecting your family? Share your story in the comments. And if this story helped you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes one story can change everything. There are 2 other stories on my channel that are viewer favorites. Watch them next. You won't regret it. Thank you for following my story to the end. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. From my house to yours, this is Eleanor Thompson. Remember, you are worthy of respect. You are worthy of boundaries. You are worthy of love that doesn't hurt. God bless you all.